The throne room of the Aetheri Imperium was silent, not the ordinary ceremonial silence that accompanied royal audiences, but a deep, suffocating stillness, one that pressed against the mind like the vacuum between stars. Even the crystalline chandeliers above the obsidian hall seemed frozen in time, their prismatic lights trapped in motionless air. Queen Vayleth sat upon the living throne of woven crystal and organic alloy, her elongated silver form coiled elegantly across the seat. Her 4 eyes, each capable of perceiving different spectrums of reality, focused on the lone figure standing at the center of the chamber. The human. He stood straight, hands clasped behind his back, wearing no armor, no insignia of rank. Only a simple dark uniform, worn and patched, as if he had spent a lifetime refusing to replace it. His hair was streaked with gray despite his relatively young appearance, and faint scars traced his exposed skin like a map of forgotten wars. He looked ordinary. That was what unsettled her most. Humans had entered the galactic stage only a century ago. They were classified as a death world species, naturally resilient, but technologically inferior to most interstellar civilizations. They were not supposed to command fear. Yet here one stood, summoned as a representative of his people, invited to speak before the Empress of 1,000 systems. And the court was terrified. Vayleth held a crystalline tablet in one slender clawed appendage. On its surface scrolled the translated record of the human soldier service history. At first, she had expected a brief summary, a few campaigns, perhaps a notable battle or two. Instead, the file had expanded endlessly. She inhaled slowly through her spiraled respiratory vents. "Your name," she said, her voice resonating in layered harmonics that vibrated through the chamber. "Captain Elias Mercer," the human replied. His voice was calm. No fear. No pride. Just matter of fact. "A captain," Vayleth repeated, glancing at the record again. "This title seems insufficient." Mercer shrugged slightly. "It's what they gave me." The Queen's 4 eyes narrowed. She scrolled. First Contact War, Skarn Rift Campaign. Vayleth remembered the Skarn. Massive arthropoid conquerors who had wiped out 3 civilizations in less than a decade. Even the Aetheri had lost fleets attempting to contain them. Yet here was the record. Human Expeditionary Force, 12th Battalion. Captain Elias Mercer, posthumous survival status, unknown. She expanded the details. Mercer had led a boarding action into a Skarn Hive-Ship after Aetheri Command deemed the vessel unsalvageable. His unit had been expected to delay the Skarn long enough for evacuation. Instead, he had detonated the ship's breeding chambers, causing a chain reaction that destroyed the Hive-Ship and 3 escort vessels. Survivors, 0 Skarn. Human casualties, 80%. Mercer listed as sole confirmed survivor. Vayleth paused. She had seen battle statistics before. But this was not strategy. This was defiance incarnate. She continued scrolling. The Varnyx Plague Purge. The Varnyx were a silicon-based species whose homeworld had been consumed by a nanite plague. When they begged for help, the Galactic Council had declared the planet quarantined and ordered sterilization bombardment. The human record told another story. Mercer had volunteered to descend into the nanite storm with a prototype anti-nanite device. The mission success probability had been calculated at 0.003%. He had deployed the device manually, while the nanites ate through his armor, his weapons, and eventually his flesh. He survived. He had been hospitalized for 2 years. The Varnyx still existed because of him. Vayleth felt her pulse accelerate. She looked up at the human. He stood quietly, gaze neutral, as if none of this mattered. "Do you dispute these records?" she asked. "No, Your Majesty." "Then why are you not celebrated as a hero among your people?" Mercer hesitated. "I am. Just not loudly." The Queen tilted her head. Human psychology fascinated her. She scrolled further. The Threx Dominion collapse. The Threx were ancient warlords, genetically engineered for conquest. Their empires spanned dozens of sectors. Their armies were legendary. Mercer's name appeared again. He had led a coalition strike team into the Threx High Command Spire. The mission objective: eliminate the Grand Warlord. The team never returned. Except Mercer. He had returned alone, carrying the severed head of the Threx Grand Warlord in a data core containing the coordinates of every Threx military asset. The Threx Dominion had collapsed within a year. Vaelith's grip tightened on the tablet. She had assumed the human to be a diplomat or ceremonial veteran. Instead, she was looking at a walking catastrophe for any species foolish enough to provoke him. She kept scrolling. The list did not end. It continued through rebellions, border conflicts, peacekeeping missions that turned into slaughter, and secret operations whose details were still classified even to the Galactic Council. Each entry carried the same pattern: high probability of death, human participation, unlikely survival, mission success, again, and again, and again. Finally, she reached the end of the file. Operation Silent Dawn. Classified level Omega. She hesitated, then authorized decryption using her Imperial biometrics. The text appeared. Silent Dawn had been the contingency plan in case the Galactic Council ever collapsed into full-scale war. A plan to neutralize multiple superpowers simultaneously. Mercer had been the commander. He had refused to execute it. Instead, he had leaked the plan to every major power, forcing a ceasefire through mutual fear. He had saved the galaxy from itself. Vaelith slowly set the tablet down. The throne room remained silent, but the silence had changed. It was no longer formal. It was reverent. She studied the human carefully. "You could have been emperor," she said quietly. "Or a conqueror. Or a god by some standards." Mercer shook his head. "No. I'm a soldier. A soldier who reshaped history." He looked at her directly for the first time. "A soldier who followed orders," he corrected, "and sometimes disobeyed them." Vaelith found that more terrifying than any weapon. She leaned forward, resting her forelimbs on the throne's edge. "Captain Mercer, tell me something." "Yes, Your Majesty." "Why do humans fight like this?" Mercer considered the question. "Because if we don't, something we love dies." The answer was simple and horrifying. Vaelith glanced around the chamber. Her advisors were silent, their bioluminescent markings dimmed in shock. She turned back to Mercer. "You have been summoned because the Council fears humans. They fear your unpredictability. They fear your capacity for destruction." She paused. "I now understand why." Mercer's expression did not change. "But," Vaelith continued, "I also see restraint, compassion, mercy." She gestured to the record of the Varnyx rescue, the refusal of Silent Dawn. "You could have ended empires. Instead, you ended wars." He shrugged again, but his eyes hardened. Someone had to. Vaelith felt something she had not felt in centuries. Humility. She rose from the throne, unfolding her full height, towering over Mercer. The court gasped. Ethery queens rarely stood for anyone. She descended the steps and stopped before him. "Captain Elias Mercer," she said, her voice now echoing through every speaker in the hall. "On behalf of the Ethery Imperium, I acknowledge you as a living legend of the galactic age." The advisor stirred in shock. She extended a ceremonial blade, symbol of royal honor, and tapped it lightly against his shoulders. "May your name be recorded in our eternal archives." Mercer blinked. "That's not necessary, Your Majesty." Vaelith's eyes softened. "It is necessary, because legends remind us of what we fear and what we must aspire to." She returned to the throne and sat, her posture no longer regal but contemplative. "Tell me, Captain, are there many like you among humans?" He hesitated. "Yes." The word echoed through the chamber like a detonation. Vaelith felt a chill ripple through her exoskeleton. She realized something then. The galaxy had not just encountered a dangerous species. It had encountered a species of quiet legends, walking among ordinary beings, carrying histories written in blood and sacrifice. And they did not seek worship. They only sought survival. She looked once more at the man standing alone in her throne room. Not as an enemy, not as a hero, but as a warning to the universe. The human soldier bowed slightly. "If there's nothing else, Your Majesty, I have a flight to catch." For the first time in her reign, Queen Valeth laughed. And somewhere in the vast archives of the Aetheri Imperium, a new entry was recorded. Elias Mercer, the living legend. Proof that humanity was not just feared. Humanity was unstoppable.